Do you believe in paranormal activity?
Yes.
I'm kind of skeptical.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah, I've always been kind of skeptical about paranormal activity, and my recent experience has definitely made me believe it.
High-def camera on. My girlfriend Katie, she thinks there's something in the house. I don't know.
You believe me, right?
I think we're gonna have a very interesting time capturing whatever paranormal phenomena is occurring or is not occurring. Windows are locked, doors are locked, the alarm is on. Hearing a weird sound.
Something's here. I feel it breathing on me.
There's footsteps in, but there's no footsteps out.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
If you do try to play games with it, that's inviting it in.
Jesus, this looks like something bit you.
It's not the house. It's me.
You cannot run from this. It will follow you.
I'm in control.
You're not in control. What's happening to me?
This thing left a message.
It's not a ghost. What is it?
This is a story about supernatural, which this didn't happen to me, but I heard it from a student, and it's stuck with me all this time. And this is one of the reasons why I believe in the paranormal. This student, who I had years ago, said she lived in a haunted house, and when she would go to sleep at night as a little girl, she would wake up and she would see an old man in her room, and he would smile at her. He'd walk up to her, and he'd reach into his mouth, and he would take out a set of false teeth, and he would chomp them at her. Now, she would jump up and run into her parents' room, of course, and this happened for quite some time. It happened for years, in fact. And so about 5 or 6 years go by, and the girl is about 7 or 8 years old, and her mother and father are going out for a night on a Saturday night, and there's a high school age girl that's babysitting them, and the girl would see this spirit very regularly, like maybe once a week even. And before going out, the girl on Friday night had seen the ghost and was terrified to go to sleep, and was terrified for her parents to leave. And when the high school babysitter heard this and asked the mother what the problem was, the mother sort of laughed it off and said, "Oh, she has this crazy dream sometimes about this man, and he reaches into his mouth and he pulls out these false teeth and he chomps them at her." And as soon as the mother mentions the teeth, the babysitter gets completely pale and shaky and has to sit down. And the mother doesn't know why. And says, "Are you okay? Should I call the 911?" She goes, No. It's okay. Let me just sit down for a second, and let me just have a glass of water, and relax for a second." So she sits down, and gets the glass of water, and the girl, the high school senior, says, "I have to tell you something, though. I don't think your daughter is lying." And the mother says, "Why?" She's like, "Well, when I was your daughter's age, or even a little younger, there was a man in our neighborhood that used to sell fruits and vegetables outside of his house, and he loved kids, and he would bring them. He would give us an apple or other things, pear, and he was he was a great friendly old man. But one of the ways he would play with us is that he would reach into his mouth and take out a set of false teeth and chomp them at us. And that old man used to live in your house." So that's my story about the paranormal.
What had happened was, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, probably 2 or 3 in the morning. I just hear this screaming coming from down the hall, and my mom and my sister race into my room. I was the only one home at the time. My dad was actually doing police work at night at the time, and they came in, and my sister had this look of fear on her face that I'd never seen in a person before. Just total terror. And, she was very hysterical, crying, her face was all red, just couldn't even talk to her at the time. And my mom was like, she says she saw a ghost. She says she saw a ghost in her room. So, of course, I'm thinking back to all these. This was like right before all those ghost hunter things came out. But I had always followed the Warrens, and I read a lot of books about ghosts before then. So I naturally go for the camera to start snapping pictures in her room. Like, okay, what am I going to see when this, in these pictures? About 20 minutes later, my sister starts to calm down, and she tells me her side of the story. And her side of the story is that she woke up in the middle of the night. She had, she looked at the end of her bed, and she says that it's very cold in the room, much colder than usual. And there's this strange smell that she smells, a very, very bad smell. And she looks at the end of the bed, and at the end of the bed there's a woman standing there at her feet. And she has an old dress on that's, a whitish dress that looks like it's been stained over the years. Had a lot of real kind of doily looking fancy embellishments to it. And it was a woman, an older woman with black, longer hair, and my sister said that her eyes were sunken into her head, really like blackish and brownish around the eyes, and really sunk in like she was sick, very sick. And so my sister covers her head with the sheets, and she's like, okay, I'm definitely dreaming. This can't be happening. And there's this light, there's this glow around the woman, and she's still seeing the glow from the corner of, from under the corner of the blankets. And she tries again, and she picks up the blanket, and she could see that the woman is still there at the foot of her bed. She covers herself again, and she starts freaking out this time. She gives herself more time, and she says now she could hear this woman breathing. And she looks one last time and still sees the dress, and she reaches for her cell phone and calls my mom, like from her cell phone, calls down the hall in the house. And she's like, Mom, get me. Now, that's where her story pretty much ends. My mom's version of the story is that she gets this phone call, and she comes in, and there's my sister, when she opens the door, kind of sitting up at the end of the bed with her hands out like this, looking towards the door, saying like, get me. And my mom had to like pick her up, and she was just like totally dead weight. Like she was just scared, completely stiff. And my mom kind of like dragged her out of the room, and then the rest of the story kind of unfolded. Now, of course, when you ask the question of do you believe in ghosts or not, well, when you see someone have that kind of an experience, what I do believe is that she believes she saw a ghost at that time. She was terrified, absolutely terrified. And of course, so were we. I remember like not being able to get to sleep the rest of that night or many of the following nights.
Me and my friends went to the Easton Cemetery. We went and we didn't see anything, but as we drove away, I turned around and only I saw a white figure that looked like the white lady of Easton. I got like a tingly sensation when I saw it. I don't know why, and I was really scared.
The Stepney Cemetery is located next to Our Lady of the Rosary Chapel in Monroe, Connecticut. The pastor of this chapel has performed many exorcisms here. The White Lady is known to walk 10 miles from Union Cemetery in Easton to the cemetery in Monroe in search of her husband. Many people have seen her walking through the streets and say that she passed through their car while driving.
So around like 1 or 2 in the morning, I was driving my friend home. She lives in Monroe, and she lives in like the really woodsy part, so she just gave me some directions, and I was going, and we were on this road, and it wasn't really, like there weren't a lot of street lights. It was pretty dark, and so we were driving, and all of a sudden we come to like this cloud in the road. It was like this big, and it was kind of like a patch of fog, just like random. It wasn't a foggy night or anything, so random fog in the air, and I kind of disregarded it until I drive through it, and it goes through my car, and I was kind of freaked out because fog isn't supposed to go through your car, but so we were both kind of freaked out by that, and come to find out later, about 2 weeks afterwards, that that's where the white lady supposedly walks.
No one knows for sure who the White Lady is. Some say she is buried in an unmarked grave and is searching for her husband to tell him something important. Velvet Street, known to the locals as Dracula Drive, is a very popular place for anyone hunting for paranormal experiences. Many teens like to go with friends and experience for themselves the legend of the Melonheads. Melonheads were previous patients of an insane asylum whose heads got deformed in an experiment. These Melonheads are known to haunt the windy dirt paths of Velvet Road.
Recently I went to Dracula Drive on the Trumbull and Monroe border to see the Melonhead. Me and 4 friends piled into my car and we went on Dracula Drive. And while on Dracula Drive there was like a dirt path on the side, and we went on that. And it was raining, and we got out of the car to take some pictures, and like we left and we went to get ice cream, and no one saw anything while we were there. And then when we were at Baskin Robbins in Trumbull, we were looking at the pictures, and like in the back of the pictures you could see like faces. You could see like clear-cut faces. There was 3, and I showed them to my mom and like everyone, and she was like counting off the people, and she thought those were like my friends. Like they were so clear, like you actually thought they were people. After like we saw the faces, like it was really creepy. Like when we were there, like on Dracula Drive, like it was scary, but we all like kind of thought it was a joke. And then like when we were looking at the pictures afterwards, like it was really freaky. Like it was so clear, and like everyone like really thought that there was like legit ghosts in the picture.
This is the picture from Dracula Drive that Owen was previously talking about. From left to right, you can see a person, a face of a male ghost next to them, and then another person and their friend's arm. To the right of Owen's head, there's a man's face, black eyes, and a mouth that seems to be glowing.
Since I was a young boy, I've been told that when hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, wherever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight.